The movie begins with a young boy named Roger Walker playing with his toys in the bathtub. As he plays, his brother John comes and tells him that the taxi is there. Meanwhile, Roger stops playing and gets up to leave. His mother comes and flushes the water from the bathtub, trying to ignore the mess in the bathroom. The kids rush to the train station to get there on time. While running, Roger drops his toy, but two men catch up and give it to him.
Well, you might not get there.
The children board the train, and Roger plays with the fan despite John telling him not to. Roger's sister, Susan, mentions that she wishes he was with them, but their mother tells them he had to be with the ship. She then gives them gifts from their father. Susan gets a book, Taddy gets a journal, Roger a monocular, and John his father's knife. There is a note with the knife about what to do with it. Roger says that he also wants a knife.
I want a knife.
But his mother tells him only when he is John's age. They continue their journey, and their mother goes out to smoke. While smoking, a man bumps into her but walks away without apologizing. The kids tell him that the seat is taken, and their mother will be back any minute, but the man ignores them. He then enters the compartment where the family is and sits. He picks up their little sister from Susan's lap. Another man walks in, but the man tells him that the seat is full unless he wants to bunk with the kids, so the man leaves.
Sorry, but this compartment's taken.
Seeing this, John takes out his knife and warns the man to put his sister down. The man looks at the knife, gives the baby to Susan, and puts his hat on the luggage holder. He then threatens the kids not to tell anyone about what happened, or he will send pirates after them, and it will not end well. He then opens the train door while it is moving and gets out. The kids look at him in awe. Shortly after, their mother comes back, but they don't mention anything that happened during her absence.
Everything all right?
While they are sitting, the man who came earlier opens the door again and notices that the other man is gone. He asks Mrs. Walker where her husband is, and confused, she tells him that he is in Hong Kong. Meanwhile, the man who was sitting with them is hanging outside the train, while two men, standing on top of it, search for him. They take out their guns, but before they can shoot, he jumps from the train, landing on the grass. The family reaches their destination.
You're traveling light.
And a man named Mr. Jackson comes to pick them up. He takes them back to his house, where they are greeted by Mrs. Jackson. Tatty asks if they can go to Dafflin first, and their mother gives them permission. The kids run there. She warns them to come back in time for tea, and they run off. They reach a lake, and John comes up with an idea. They go back to the house, and Mr. Jackson takes them to a boat. But before that, they need permission from their mother, so they beg her to let them go sailing, with John as their captain.
We could camp.
Their mother is not on board with the idea of sending her kids sailing into the unknown. On top of that, the island is big, and that itself is risky. She suggests they set up a camp in the garden and spend time together instead, but the children insist. Finally, Mrs. Walker agrees, but they must ask for their father's permission, so they have to write to him. Tatty and Mrs. Walker go to mail the letter, but it takes 3 weeks to reach him. Tatty tells the woman there that it is a life and death situation, and the woman suggests using a telegram. Mrs. Walker writes the letter and they leave.
Come on, Roger, let's get a fishing net.
As soon as they walk out, the two men from the train, Laszlo and his ally, enter and ask the woman at the desk about a hotel they can stay in. Then they start asking about a man who is a writer for a newspaper. The woman tells them there is one man that matches that description, Jim Turner. He travels a lot and lives on his boat here. They thank her for the information and leave.
That's a very big lake.
The kids go to a lake and see an old boat inside. They wonder whose it is and what might have happened to the owner. While playing, John accidentally breaks a window on the boat. Shocked, the kids run away, and the owner of the boat comes out. Tatty immediately recognizes the man from the train. It is the guy who threatened them. Laszlo is also watching him through binoculars and is grateful to the kids for making him come out. When Tatty tells her siblings that it is the man from the train,
It's the man from the train.
they don't believe her and just drag her away. Later that night, the owner of the boat, Jim Turner, shows up at Mr. and Mrs. Jackson's house. He is there to talk to Mrs. Walker about the actions of her kids. Mrs. Walker, who is not informed about the incident, insists that her children didn't break his window. The children hide and listen to their conversation. Mrs. Walker suddenly recognizes him and asks if he was on their train.
Weren't you on our train?
but he denies it, saying that he doesn't travel by train. He then notices the children upstairs. Mrs. Walker confidently asks John to tell Mr. Turner that he didn't break his window. Turner throws the stone, telling John it is his. It is a small stone with a pirate carved on it. John hesitates to tell the truth, and Susan interrupts, explaining that it was an accident. John also apologizes. Turner accepts the apology, but warns the children never to come near his boat again before leaving. Mrs. Walker reprimands John for his actions and for not telling her the truth in the first place.
You should have told me straight away.
The next day, a message from their father arrives, and Mrs. Walker gives it to John to read. Their father has given his permission, so all that's left is their mother's approval. The kids beg their mother to let them go, and finally, she agrees. Everyone runs to the house excitedly to prepare. Mrs. Walker then pulls Roger aside and tells him he will stay behind and spend time with them because his swimming is not good.
You can't swim well enough, darling.
Hearing this, Roger gets sad and runs to the chicken coop, crying. Determined not to be left behind, Roger later wakes his mother and they go to the lake. Susan starts teaching Roger to swim and he begins to improve. After this, everyone starts doing what is expected of them. John, as the captain, learns how to sail from Mr. Jackson. Susan, along with Mrs. Jackson, tries to figure out what is truly essential to take along so they don't overload their boat. Tatty packs her books. Preparations continue, and when they finally finish, it is time to go.
Good swimming, Roger.
But there is no wind, so they sit on the ground, waiting for it. John is frustrated because of the absence of wind, and Tatty tells him he has to whistle for it. John brushes it off, calling it ridiculous, but Tatty, Susan, and Roger whistle, and the wind comes. So they get up and get on their boat. Mrs. Walker, Mr. Jackson, and Mrs. Jackson go to the dock to bid them farewell. John introduces his crew, and they all tell the kids to be careful. The kids get on their boat and set off.
Bye.
Tatty reads her map to lead them, and their journey begins and continues well. But suddenly, Susan stumbles into the boat's flag and accidentally pushes the basket with their food into the water. Tatty reminds them that it was all their food, so John tries to salvage it. He turns the flag in the other direction, and the boat starts moving toward the basket. John orders them to pick up the basket when he gives them a signal.
Susan, when I give you the signal, grab the box.
But when they reach the basket, they miss it and it sinks. Now they are left without food. Susan blames John for this, saying that he is a bad captain, but John blames them, calling them a bad crew. They wander in the middle of the ocean, and suddenly Tatty sees an island nearby and points them in that direction. They sail toward the island and see that it is actually dry land. Excited, they get off, and John asks Tatty to name the island.
You name it.
She names it Walker's Island. They are all amazed by the fact that they have found an island in the middle of the ocean. They start walking around the forest, looking at their surroundings. Then they see a fireplace, which Roger quickly assumes belongs to pirates. Susan calms him down and tells him it is old, so the pirates are not there. Tatty wants to make a fire, but she is not allowed to use matches, so she is dismissed. Susan then tells John that the matches were actually in the basket, and they were lost with the food.
The matches were in the box with the food.
At the same time, Roger announces that he is hungry. Now they have no food, no fire, and are stranded in the middle of the ocean. Back at home, Mrs. Jackson, sure that the kids are coming back, sets the table for all of them. This makes Mrs. Walker upset, and she insists that her kids are not failures. She then picks up the plates that were set for the kids from the table. The group sets up their tent and runs inside when the rain starts to pour. After the rain, they all sit outside. Roger mentions that he is going to starve to death in this unknown place, and Tatty shares his fear.
Me too.
Suddenly, Susan runs to them screaming. There are cakes that Mrs. Jackson packed for them that were not in the basket. They all get excited and start eating. Back at home, Mrs. Walker is worried about her kids and looks at the ocean while standing by the door. Mrs. Jackson tries to comfort her. Mrs. Walker tells her that she is glad her kids came here and are doing things she once took for granted. Going out like this is good for them. Mrs. Jackson agrees with her.
You're right, lass.
Inside their tent, Susan gives Roger a toy that their mother had given her and then goes back to her own tent. Tatty is writing in her journal, and Susan suggests that she look at the stars outside because they are beautiful. Roger and John are also in their tent. Roger sees John's knife and tells him that he wishes he had a knife so he could fight off the pirates, but John tells him that pirates are not real and tells him to go to sleep. They all say goodnight to each other and sleep.
Good night.
Night.
At night, Laszlo and his friend closely monitor Turner. Jim's friend insists on going to catch him, but Laszlo thinks they should be smart about it because they not only need him, but also the papers that might be in the boat with him. The next morning, John walks out of his tent and Tatty hears him. She asks where he is going, and he simply tells her to follow him. Tatty puts on her shoes and follows. He then tells her he is going to look for a fire. The two then get on their boat and start their journey to the island across the water because they had seen a fire there. Roger and Susan wake up but see that John and Tatty are nowhere to be found. Roger asks where they are, but Susan answers angrily, saying that nobody tells her anything, so she doesn't know.
Nobody tells me anything.
She then goes back to the tent to bring a toothbrush for Roger, telling him he should brush his teeth. But when she comes out, he is not where she left him. He is walking around and stumbles upon a skull hanging on a rock. This shocks him, and he yells, calling for Susan. When she comes, he tells her that the pirates killed John and Tatty and hung their skulls. Susan tells him it is not them, but then reads the sign along with the skull. It warns not to trespass and states that it is dangerous for anyone who does. Meanwhile, John and Tatty reach the island and get off their boat. They see a fire from afar and walk around the island. Suddenly, Tatty stumbles upon a snake and screams, but before the snake can do anything, a man picks it up and tells them it won't hurt them if they don't touch it. Along with him is another man, and he asks why they are here and what they are doing. Tatty introduces John as the captain and herself.
I'm John Walker.
John tells him they are here to learn how to make fire. The man then shows them how to make fire, and they talk about where the kids come from. The man then asks about someone who lives on his boat, and Tatty tells him it is Captain Flint. The man tells her that they know him by his alias, Jim Turner. He then tells them that two strangers have been asking a lot of questions about him, and he wants them to tell him that old Billy thought he would want to know. He warns them not to linger because he doesn't like visitors, and as they are about to leave, he reminds them that they need a good straight stick and a piece of bark. The other man then throws them a match in case the other method doesn't work. Susan and Roger manage to catch a fish, but Susan is struggling with the fish while trying to cut it. As they are working on it, they see a boat and hide. She reads the name Amazon and realizes it is the same one from the warning sign. She looks at them through Roger's monocular. Meanwhile, Laszlo and his friend are still spying on Turner. They see him going out and notice that he left the door open, but shortly after, John and Tatty arrive.
Hello?
John gets in, leaving Tatty in their boat. He starts looking around and sees pictures and documents. Then he finds a gun, but as he is doing so, Turner shows up and asks if he is a spy. When John tells him that he is here to deliver a message, Turner calls him a liar. He doesn't want to hear anything from him and kicks him out of the boat. As John is walking away, he tells Turner that he is the liar because he denied being on the train. Turner warns him to forget about everything from the train and what he saw here. Angrily, John gets out and gets on the boat. Turner goes back inside his boat and starts sailing away. While they are in their boat, they see another boat, the same one Roger and Susan saw, with Amazon written on it. They fire their flare gun at Tatty and John, which makes John angry. He changes course and they go back to the island where they are camping.
We're going back to get the others.
Susan and Roger tell him about the Amazons and show him the sign. John gets angry at this and announces that this means war. Susan protests, saying that he cannot decide alone and that them taking off without telling her was irresponsible. Tatty protests, saying that it was a top-secret mission to uncover the mystery of fire. Susan gets annoyed but ends up getting on the boat to follow the others. They start sailing toward them to chase them, but the others are very good sailors, so they disappear from view. The two girls on the other boat take off their hats and wave at them, showing their victory. The kids see that the girls are changing course and follow them to see where they are going. They reach a carnival, and John, Tatty, and Susan walk in while Roger stays behind as a lookout. He asks for John's knife, and John gives it to him. Then they go to a supermarket to pick out food to eat. At the same time, Turner arrives in a boat at the same place where the kids are and goes to send a telegram. Laszlo and his men are still watching him. When Turner gets off the boat, Laszlo gets on and starts looking around. Seeing this, Roger takes out his knife and approaches Laszlo, but when he notices that Laszlo has a gun, Roger drops the knife and runs away. Laszlo looks at him, confused.
No.
Meanwhile, Laszlo's friend follows Turner and sees him writing the message to be sent. Tatty, still there after coming to buy food, is hiding behind a pile of cans, watching him. After he leaves, she suddenly crashes into the cans, causing a commotion. The woman at the desk gets distracted and goes to check the cans.
What can I do for you, Mr. Turner?
Allowing Laszlo's friend to pick up the message before running out of the place. Tatty runs to Susan and Roger, telling them she just saw Captain Flint and that he sent a telegram, which is a life-and-death situation, but the other captain stole it. Susan tells her to get in the boat so they can get away. They go back to their island, and John tries to make a fire. Initially, it is unsuccessful.
You must be doing it wrong.
So Susan insists on using the matches. Tatty insists that they are explorers and should make fire the proper way. Finally, John successfully makes the fire and they all cheer. They start to cook the fish Susan had prepared, but it looks bad and no one is willing to eat it. John suggests that they eat one of the cans they brought, so they start eating that instead. While they are sitting and eating, arrows suddenly start flying in their direction. Startled, everyone runs away as two masked people chase them through the forest. They all then jump into the water, and the two masked people take off their masks, revealing themselves as the two girls from the Amazon boat. They warn them that they will not be able to escape next time, and then notice that only 3 of them are in the water.
Hang on. Where's the short one?
Roger is still on the island, and they have caught him. The 3 realize that their boat is gone. As they stand by the shore, confused, the 2 girls return with Roger. They introduce themselves as Nancy Blackett and Peggy Blackett. They declare that they own this island and tell them to collect their belongings and leave. John refuses and demands their boat and Roger back.
Give us back our boat.
Nancy tells him that this is Wildcat Island and that they are not allowed to be there. Tatty argues that this is not the island's name, it is Walker Island, but they brush her off. They take them to a secret harbor where they are keeping the Walker's boat. The 2 groups sit in their respective boats to discuss, and John makes it clear that they are living on the island now, so it belongs to them. He declares that they will fight to the death to defend it.
And we'll fight to the death to keep it.
Tatty adds that they are not afraid of the pirates who sent them either. The Blacketts, confused, tell them that no one sent them. But Tatty insists that Captain Flint, the most notorious pirate in all of Houseboat Bay, sent them. Hearing this, Peggy says that she is talking about Uncle Jim, but Nancy quickly silences her. Nancy then tells them that there is only one way to settle this: on the water. The captain who takes the enemy ship wins the island and both boats.
How frightened of you?
Susan protests because their boat, Swallow, is not theirs, but John agrees to their challenge. The Walkers go back to their campsite to discuss ways to steal Amazon. They all take on their respective responsibilities. John then asks Roger where his knife is, and Roger tells him that he lost it. This makes John angry, and he yells at Roger for losing their father's knife. He even says that he hopes he drowns,
I hope you drown.
which makes Roger start crying. He then runs to the tent and cries there. Susan reminds John that Roger is only little. Meanwhile, the Blacketts are sitting with their mother, having a meal at their house. Turner then walks in, and the girls excitedly greet him. He puts down his parrot and sits with them. Mrs. Blackett reprimands him for disappearing without telling them and for not visiting often. He then tells them that he is here today to leave his parrot with them because he is going away for a couple of days.
I've got an urgent article to finish and I need a favor.
Mrs. Blackett asks to speak with him alone and reminds him that he said the same thing before, but was gone for 3 months. She tells him the girls will miss him. Turner apologizes, but he must leave now. After he leaves, the girls announce that they are at war with the Walkers. The Walkers also prepare to start their search for Amazon. Tatty is going to stay on the island while Roger, Susan, and John take their boat. They begin sailing, looking for a place where the Blacketts might be hiding Amazon. Tatty, alone on the island, starts to get frightened by every little sound. When she hears a loud noise, she runs to the tent screaming. Meanwhile, John and the others see the Blackett sign and follow it. They spot 2 covered figures in a boat and sail toward them, thinking they are the girls. But when they remove the covers, they turn out to be dummies, and the boat isn't even Amazon. They angrily start to sail back, but Roger keeps standing on the edge of the boat, sticking a stick in the water. John yells at him to get away from the edge, but Roger ignores him.
Roger, stop messing around.
Suddenly, Roger falls into the water. Susan and John frantically call out his name, but Roger is nowhere to be found. Finally, he sticks his head out, and they see him from afar. John tries to steer back to him, but the wind pushes their boat in the opposite direction. After struggling against the wind, John finally manages to sail toward Roger, and they pull him out of the water. They wrap him in a blanket and hug him. Back on the island, Tatty hears the Blacketts getting off their boat, talking about their plan to take Swallow tomorrow. As they walk toward their camp, Tatty sneaks onto their boat and sails away. They see her, and Nancy orders her to come back, but Tatty is already too far gone.
Come back, you blackguard!
Meanwhile, Turner returns to his boat and finds that he has been robbed. Papers are scattered all over the ground, and the box containing his files is missing. On the ground lies John's knife. Turner immediately calls an officer to report the theft. He demands that the case be handled today, claiming that John Walker stole a box full of his work. After the call ends, Turner hears a whistle and turns to see Laszlo standing behind him. Laszlo takes out his gun and orders him to drop the knife. It is revealed that Laszlo works for the Russians and believes that Turner stole a rocket plan. Turner confirms this, saying that he will do whatever it takes to stop the development of weapons that could wipe out entire cities. Laszlo tells him that they don't have a say in what their governments do. He also reveals that they intercepted the telegram to his superiors. He admires Turner's principles and asks if Turner would work with them. Turner laughs at this and tells him that he will never betray his country. Laszlo then threatens him with his gun and orders him to come with him.
You're coming with us.
Turner lunges at him, but Laszlo's friend hits him from behind. Meanwhile, Tatty, who is on Amazon, sees Laszlo and the man loading Turner onto a small boat to take him away. She assumes they are pirates and that they killed Captain Flint to take his treasure. John, Susan, and Roger return and see Amazon in the water. They sail toward it and find Tatty inside. When they see her, they realize that they have won the challenge. When they return to the island, they find Nancy and Peggy waving a white flag. They surrender to Captain John and tell him that the island is now Walker Island. John then tells them that it will always be called Wildcat Island because it is a better name. With this agreement, the 2 families make peace and go to the Walkers' tent together, where they eat cake and spend time laughing and playfully fighting. After their fun time together, the kids lay on the ground sleeping, but they are woken by Mrs. Walker, Mrs. Blackett, and an officer. The officer shows John the knife, which was found on Turner's boat, and asks if he was sailing at night. John hesitates to answer, and Mrs. Walker scolds him because he is not allowed to sail at night. She is angry at him for getting into trouble and apologizes to Mrs. Blackett, reassuring her that he will return her brother's belongings. She also tells John that he is not going to sail for the rest of the summer. The kids go back to their houses, and John tells his siblings that they must find out what happened to Turner. Tatty tells them she saw pirates loading Captain Flint onto a boat. John tells them that Turner is a spy because he saw a lot of secret documents in Russian on his boat. He also has a gun. Roger then tells them that the other pirate, the man who walked into their train when Captain Flint was pretending to be their father, also has a gun. Hearing this, they realize realize that Captain Flint was running away from them. Now that they have kidnapped him, they will likely kill him. John decides that they must save him and that they will ask Nancy and Peggy for help. Susan asks Tatty if the boat the kidnappers used was a motorboat, and when Tatty confirms, she tells the group that she has seen their boat as they were leaving the island.
I think they're going to kill him.
Susan and John go to the shore and use their torch to communicate with Nancy and Peggy. They sneak off and take Amazon without permission, then sail. They go to Turner's boat and look around. John finds the gun and takes it. They go to the island and find Laszlo, the other man, and Turner tied up. John points the gun at Laszlo and orders him to let go of Turner, but Laszlo tells him to pull the trigger. He will not release Turner. John remains stubborn, and Laszlo does the same. Turner intervenes and tries to convince John to drop the gun. Finally, John does. Turner tells them to leave and instructs John to protect the kids. The kids run off while Laszlo and the others head to their transportation, a small plane waiting for them. They get in, but the kids also run to their boat, determined to stop them.
Come on, we can still stop them.
They tie a rope between both boats and attach it to the plane. When the plane attempts to take off, the rope holds it back. Laszlo orders the pilot to add more power to the engine, and this time the plane starts moving, pulling the boats with it. Nancy and Peggy manage to untie the rope from the plane, but the walkers do not, and their boat gets dragged by the plane. John tries to cut the rope, and after a lot of struggle, he succeeds. The plane takes off. At the same time, Turner unties himself and attacks Laszlo and his friend from behind. He manages to take the gun from Laszlo and takes control. He forces the pilot to land the plane and then returns to the kids. They see him from the boat and all cheer happily. Officers arrive and arrest Laszlo and his friend. Turner reunites with his nieces and apologizes to John. Mrs. Walker now knows the truth and also apologizes to John. Later that night, John gives Roger his knife and tells him to keep it safe. After everything, the kids go back to a boat along with Turner, who is dressed as a pirate. Turner becomes their captain, jumps into the water, and the kids happily join him.